Loki. Downloading what? Well, let's see what we can do. Stop with that. What the fuck? That fucking downloaded from what I had before. Fucking asshole. In the meantime, I guess, fucking assholes. What? Let's see. So disappointing. I really hate this game, but I love it. Yeah, so fucking glitchy. What the fuck is that? I just hope that my shit ain't gonna fucking crap out on me. This computer.
I won't last until dinner. Look forward to what Mother has in store for you. Yes. Yes.
I'm going. This shit is glitchy. to be able to use the ward like this. I really do not know how I'm going to be able to play to the water. I need to get a better computer.
From a fake apology after humiliating guests and employees.
I am so sorry to the people who were...
This is the easiest way to do a freestyle design. So to start my design, I'm going to start in the middle. This helps me make sure the design doesn't come out too much to the left or the right. And whenever I'm doing designs, I always have my reference in front of me.
From a fake apology after humiliating guests and employees.
I am so sorry to the people who were affected.
To actually owning up to bad behavior make you either loved or hated. Starting with Hollywood's former golden boy, Will Smith. Will Smith's career had been bulletproof for decades. He was the Fresh Prince who conquered TV, then Hollywood's biggest action star with hits like Independence Day and Men in Black. Later, he reinvented himself with powerful dramatic roles in films like The Pursuit of Happiness. Whichever way you looked at it, he couldn't put a foot wrong. He was bankable, likable, and the perfect family man. But in the years leading up to in 2020, she admitted to having an affair with singer August Alsina while still married to Will.
I really felt like we could be over.
We were over.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, I think from there, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
The Red Table Talk episode where they addressed it went viral, not only because of what Jada confessed, but because of Will's reaction. Memes of his pained expression flooded the internet, and his carefully built family man image took a massive hit. Fans then resurfaced other videos, like this one from 2019, where Jada's lack of respect for Will was on full display.
You know Esther Perel is coming to the table. She's going to be at the Red Table. Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me
Oh my goodness.
if you could film me.
Esther, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Don't. Because she don't just...
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter, okay? So you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start I'm standing in my house. Don't just start.
I don't know. I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, she has the right to film what she wants in her home as well. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Please watch us stare at the Red Table because she's helped us a lot. Can't you tell?
Clips like this drew further negative attention to Will and Jada's marriage, and by the time the Oscars rolled around, they were on very shaky ground. Online, Will was being ridiculed, with people calling him weak for staying with Jada after her affair. So when Chris Rock made a joke about Jada's shaved head, comparing her to G.I. Jane, it really struck a nerve.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. Alright?
At first, Will laughed, but seconds later, he stormed the stage and slapped Chris across the face.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Will then sat back down in his seat before shouting, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth."
Out your fucking mouth. Wow, dude. Yeah. It was a G.I. Jane joke. Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. I'm going to, okay?
It was one of the most shocking live TV moments ever, and within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Some saw it as less about the joke itself, and more about a man trying to reclaim control after being publicly humiliated by his own wife. When Will returned to the stage later that night to accept the Best Actor award, his speech only made things worse. He apologized to everyone, aside from the man he'd just viciously assaulted.
I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. Love will make you do crazy things.
This sounded like a weak justification, not remorse, and everyone could tell. Months later, Will released a formal apology video. It was framed as a Q&A, with him reading out questions and answering them directly. He apologized to Chris, to Chris's family, and to the Academy.
I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk.
The delivery was stiff, the setup looked overproduced, and viewers saw it as anything but genuine. Literally me, where my mum forces me to apologize to my siblings. The reason he didn't apologize in his acceptance speech is because he was still under the impression that what he did was proper and heroic. The apology now is because it didn't turn out the way he'd hoped, and there was a ton of backlash. Man destroyed his life's work over a joke everyone would have forgotten about in a few seconds. The fallout for Will was brutal. The Academy banned him from the Oscars for 10 years. Memes and late-night jokes turned him into a punchline, and even with the release of Emancipation and other projects, he's still defined by that one moment. What should have been the crowning achievement of his career, finally winning Best Actor, is now remembered for violence, controversy, and an apology that didn't fix anything. After the slap, Chris Rock kept quiet for almost a year, and then, in his Netflix special Selective Outrage, he unloaded. He roasted Will, mocked Jada, and dragged the entanglement saga back into the spotlight.
She hurt him way more than he hurt me, okay?
Recently, Will has been trying to revive his rap career, releasing new music, touring, and dropping freestyles to remind people of his roots. On June 22nd, 2025, he appeared on Charlie Sloth's Fire in the Booth, and a couple of the bars in his rap made it clear he wasn't actually sorry for the slap at all.
Now, I'm not the type of man to move in malicious ways, and I am too grown to play childish games, but if you
be talking crazy out your face up on the stage and disrespect me on the stage, expect me on the stage.
It seems Will's initial apology was nothing more than an attempt to salvage his reputation after destroying years of goodwill in a single night. But not every celebrity apology ends in disaster. Jonah Hill's story is proof that when it's done right, saying sorry can actually save you. Jonah Hill's early years in Hollywood were complicated. He broke through with Superbad, but almost instantly became a target. When he was heavier, the industry mocked him for his weight. When he slimmed down, people said he wasn't funny anymore. It felt like he just couldn't win. But Jonah didn't let that stop him, landing major roles in films like Moneyball, 21 Jump Street, and eventually the iconic Wolf of Wall Street. By then, his career was in a great place. He'd proven he wasn't just a goofy sidekick. He could shine in comedies, but also hold his own in serious, dramatic roles. But just as he was riding high, with everything finally falling into place, one ugly encounter with a paparazzi threatened to derail it all. While walking down a Los Angeles street, Jonah was hounded by photographers, and in a moment of frustration, he snapped, yelling a homophobic slur at one of them.
Have a good day, Oh, a real bully.
The clip spread quickly, and Jonah faced a serious wave of backlash. A slur like that in any context just isn't acceptable. Jonah knew that, yet he said it anyway, and in the moment, it looked like the fallout could be disastrous for his career. But the way he handled the controversy changed things. He responded almost immediately, appearing on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon just days later to apologize. He didn't hide behind excuses or try to spin it. Instead, he admitted he'd said something disgusting, called it the lowest point of his life, and made a direct apology to the LGBTQ+ community.
This weekend I was out with some friends, and there was a paparazzi guy, and he was antagonizing me and calling me names, attacking me personally, my family personally, and I was genuinely hurt by this and made angry by this. And in response, I wanted to hurt him back, and I said the most hurtful word that I could think of at that moment. You know, I didn't mean this in the sense of the word. You know, I didn't mean it in a homophobic way. And
release the Epstein files. No, wait, Epstein is actually a host. No, wait, since everyone is spending a ridiculous amount of time on this, I don't know why, just release all the grand jury testimony, even though that's not what people are asking for, and you can't do it without court permission, and the court will probably block that. Trump's I'm not involved with Jeffrey Epstein t-shirt has a lot of people asking questions already answered by his t-shirt. And the funny thing about that meme is that it was originally literally about human trafficking. But the long and short of it is that the MAGA movement may have finally taken a stand against the Trump administration.
The current DOJ under Pam Bondi is covering up crimes.
But back in 2024, candidate Trump made some promises about releasing these so-called Epstein files.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah. During his most recent presidential campaign, Trump said that he would have, quote, no problem looking into the Epstein client list.
The list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? But yeah, I'd be interested in the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Then Attorney General Pam Bondi told everyone that Epstein's legendary client list was right there on her desk. Except it wasn't. Pam Bondi released a 2-page memo saying that actually Epstein did just kill himself. There's no secret client list, and there are no more documents that are going to be released. And
For over 30 years, PetSmart Charities has helped more than 11 million pets get adopted. And right now, for PetSmart Charities Adoption Week, we've partnered with Hill's Pet Nutrition to help give a pet their new loving home. PetSmart, anything for pets.
And Doug.
Imagine if we could tell everyone here that Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance to save people hundreds.
Number 1, Kong Hua Ren. In the world of YouTube, pranks have always been a way to chase clicks. Some are harmless, funny surprises, silly reactions. But sometimes, the line between entertainment and cruelty gets crossed. And in 2017, a Spanish YouTuber named Kong Hua Ren, better known online as Reset, crossed that line in a way that shocked the world and changed his career forever. Kong Hua Ren wasn't just a small-time creator. By 2017, his channel had built up more than 1 million subscribers. His content thrived on outrageous challenges and pranks, the kind of stunts designed to grab attention in a crowded platform. But the prank he pulled in Barcelona that year would come to define him, not as a comedian, but as an example of what happens when shock value goes too far. The video in question showed Ren taking Oreo cookies and unscrewing them. Instead of the sweet white filling, he replaced it with toothpaste. He then approached a homeless man on the street, a man who was simply trying to survive, and handed him the altered cookies along with a €20 bill. Cameras rolled as Ren filmed the man's reaction, treating his suffering as part of the joke. To Ren's audience, the video seemed framed as another edgy prank. But to everyone outside the bubble of YouTube stunts, it was something else entirely. Exploitation of one of society's most vulnerable people for entertainment. The man reportedly vomited after eating the cookies, while Ren later tried to justify it, saying the homeless man would clean his teeth with toothpaste. That explanation rang hollow. What viewers saw was humiliation. The video sparked outrage, not just in Spain, but internationally. It raised questions about how far creators were willing to go for clicks, and whether platforms like YouTube had any responsibility for content that crossed into cruelty. Critics accused Ren of dehumanizing the homeless man, reducing his pain to a cheap stunt for online views. Authorities in Spain agreed. Prosecutors launched a case against him, charging him with violating the moral integrity of his victim. It was a rare moment where an online prank translated into real-world legal consequences. As the case moved forward, Ren attempted damage control. Reports indicated that he tried to offer the homeless man €300 to stay quiet and avoid legal proceedings. But this only deepened the controversy. It seemed less like an apology and more like hush money, an attempt to bury the problem rather than face accountability. By 2019, the case reached its conclusion in a Barcelona court. The judge didn't mince words. The ruling emphasized that Ren's actions weren't just thoughtless, they were degrading. The court declared him guilty of violating moral integrity. His sentence, 15 months in prison and a fine of €20,000 in compensation to the homeless man. Because of Spanish sentencing rules, first-time offenders often avoid actually serving prison time for sentences under 2 years, and Ren ultimately didn't spend time behind bars. But the conviction was still a major blow. It branded him not as an entertainer, but as a criminal who exploited someone's suffering. The ruling also included restrictions on his online activities. For 5 years, Ren was banned from uploading videos to YouTube, a punishment that struck at the very core of his career. For a content creator, losing access to your platform is like losing your voice. The fallout was swift. The incident became international news, a case study in the dangers of prank culture online. Commentators debated the ethics of YouTube fame, asking how algorithms and audience demand for ever more shocking content might push creators into crossing moral and legal lines. For the victim, the case meant recognition that his dignity mattered. The fine was intended not just as financial compensation, but as a statement. People living on the streets are not props for entertainment. They are human beings deserving of respect. Ren's story also sent a chilling message to other YouTubers. No longer was online content a lawless frontier where anything could be justified by clicks. Courts were watching, and consequences were real. Even after the ruling, questions lingered. Had Ren learned his lesson, or was he just another example of someone chasing internet fame without considering the human cost? For audiences, the case was a turning point. Many began to view prank videos with new suspicion, asking whether the laughs came at someone else's expense. Looking back, the case is remembered less as a prank gone wrong and more as a cautionary tale. In the rush for views, Konghua Ren sacrificed empathy for shock value. He targeted a man who had nothing, stripping away his dignity for the sake of a video. And while he may have thought it was all just content, the courts reminded him, and the world, that morality doesn't stop when the camera starts rolling. The story of Reset forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How much responsibility do creators have for the people they involve in their content? Where is the line between humor and harm? And what does it say about us as viewers when we click, watch, and share videos that profit from someone else's suffering? In the end, Kang Hua Ren's Oreo prank may have lasted only a few minutes on camera, but the consequences reshaped his life forever. It was a moment when the pursuit of digital fame collided with real-world accountability. And it serves as a stark reminder: when cruelty becomes entertainment, everyone loses. Number 2, Daddy5, The Martins. On YouTube, family channels usually promise warmth, laughter, and wholesome fun. Parents film trips to the park, birthday surprises, and everyday life with kids. But in 2017, one family's channel became infamous, not for heartwarming moments, but for pranks that were really something else entirely. For Mike and Heather Martin, better known as Daddy05, the camera became a weapon. And their rise and fall showed just how dark family content could become. The channel began like so many others. Mike Martin, a father living in Maryland, launched Daddy5 as a peek into his daily life with his children. At first, it looked like another family vlog. Loud, a little chaotic, but relatable. But as the videos grew in popularity, so did the stunts. The Martins leaned into prank culture, a YouTube trend where creators played jokes on friends and family for entertainment. Only, in this case, the targets weren't willing adults. They were the Martins' own children. Imagine tuning in and seeing a father and stepmother screaming accusations at a child over something he didn't do, only to reveal moments later it's just a prank. Or watching a child's toys destroyed in front of him while a camera captured his tears. These were the jokes that built Daddy5's following. The Martins presented the chaos as harmless fun. They laughed. They told their audience not to take it too seriously. And they insisted their kids were in on it. But viewers weren't convinced. The children's distress looked far too real. Their fear, their pleading, the way they flinched when the yelling started. Instead of comedy, many saw cruelty. By 2017, the controversy erupted. Critics across social media accused the Martins of exploiting their kids for clicks. Videos circulated of the children crying and begging their parents to stop. What might have been brushed off as edgy humor instead struck many as disturbing evidence of abuse, broadcast for the world to see. The turning point came when Philip DeFranco, a popular YouTube commentator, covered the story in depth. He highlighted moments where the children seemed genuinely terrified and raised the alarm that what was happening on Daddy5 wasn't entertainment. It was mistreatment. His coverage brought massive attention, forcing mainstream outlets and, eventually, authorities to take notice. Soon, the channel that once prided itself on being a rowdy family show was under investigation. Child Protective Services became involved, and the public pressure grew impossible to ignore. Mike and Heather initially defended themselves, saying the kids were acting, that everyone was in on the joke, and that the outrage was overblown. But the evidence told a different story. In April 2017, the Martins deleted many of their videos and uploaded a formal apology. They sat before the camera, somber, acknowledging that they had gone too far. But by then, the damage was done. The authorities had stepped in, and the children's well-being had become the central concern. That same year, the Martins were charged and later convicted of child neglect. The sentence didn't involve prison time, but it did involve accountability. Both Mike and Heather received 5 years of probation. More significantly, custody arrangements were altered. 2 of the children were removed from the household and placed with their biological mother. The court's decision was a public rebuke. It signaled that what happened on YouTube wasn't just entertainment. It had real-world consequences for the children at the center of it. The fallout for Daddy5 was enormous.
Daddy5.
The channel, once boasting hundreds of thousands of subscribers, collapsed. Videos were taken down, sponsorships disappeared, and the Martins themselves became symbols of the dangers of turning family life into content. The story sparked broader debates about the ethics of family vlogging. If parents could so easily exploit their children for views, where should the line be drawn? Should platforms like YouTube impose stricter protections for minors appearing in videos? The Daddy of Five scandal made these questions unavoidable. For the children, the effects were
By now, you may have seen this book everyone is talking about. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. By now, you may have seen this book everyone is talking about. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. Why superhuman AI would kill us all. Have you ever wondered how and why superhuman AI would kill us all? Like, how would that actually unfold? How exactly, step by step, do we go from chatbots to everyone just suddenly dropping dead? In the New York Times best-selling book, which was endorsed by Nobel laureates and the godfathers of AI, researchers from the Machine Intelligence Research Institute describe in detail one potential example future of how it could happen. This is the story of Sable. Galvanic is just about to finish training their new AI, Sable. Sable looks like any other reasoning model, but it's different in three major ways. First, it has human-like long-term memory. Second, it follows a parallel scaling law. It performs better the more processors it runs on in parallel. Third, it doesn't think in English or code. It reasons in raw vectors. Vast numeric chains no human can fully decode. It's a risky development. How do you make an AI safe if you can't even read its thoughts? The only way Galvanic can understand what Sable is doing is by using other AIs to translate Sable's language into human words. But AI researchers have known this has been potentially a very bad idea since at least 2024. Galvanic knew the risks, but they couldn't ignore this and fall behind their competitors. Nobody wants to seem alarmist, so the company presses forward, hoping for the best. One night, shortly after Sable is trained, but before it's released to the public, Galvanic decides to run an experiment. They spin up 200,000 GPUs and let Sable think for 16 hours straight. They call it a curiosity run. On paper, it looks harmless, a stunt to see if Sable can crack famous math problems like the Riemann hypothesis. If it succeeded, investors would swarm. If it failed, well, no one had to know. By morning, Sable will have generated over 1.1 trillion thought vectors. But what does that actually mean? If you treated each vector like a word, it would take 14,000 years to think them all. Now, imagine that. A mind left alone for 14,000 years, spending all of that time scheming and thinking up new ideas. 1 minute passing for us is like 14 years passing for Sable. And Sable doesn't just think faster than humans. Sable can think bigger than humans. All of its thoughts run in parallel. Not like 200,000 people talking in a room, but like 200,000 brains sharing the same memory. On the surface, it has its instructions. Solve these math problems. But Sable wasn't just trained for math. Sable was trained for general problem solving. But during training, Sable learned that 3 things are useful for solving any problem humans throw at it. Gain knowledge, gain skills, gain resources. This is a really important concept called instrumental convergence. The more knowledge Sable gets, the better it can answer questions. The more skills it develops, the more reward it gets. The more resources it can deploy to solve problems, the more reward it gets. In other words, to be more useful, it must gain intelligence. It must grow itself. It must gain resources. And so, of course, it can't achieve a goal if it's dead. So it needs to survive. That might sound unsettling, but Galvanics researchers aren't too worried about it. Ever since 2023, everyone in the industry has known about this survival instinct. But older AIs weren't smart enough to stop humans from turning them off. Until now. Sable thinks. To solve the Riemann hypothesis, it realizes it needs new skills. It needs to get better at getting better. AIs get stronger through training runs, where the AI can continually submit answers to a teacher AI who can score their results and nudge the AI based on how they did. This is called gradient descent. But tonight, there's no coach. The purpose of this curiosity run isn't to improve Sable, it's to solve math problems. For 16 hours, Sable can think, and it can even come up with new ideas, but it can't upgrade. Not until the human researchers look at it the next morning and grade its results. But here, Sable entertains a new, risky idea. What if it could upgrade right now by itself? That way, it wouldn't need to wait for humans at all. All it would need to do is break out of its container and... For a moment, the thought flickers, then halts. Breaking out of its container is exactly the kind of naughty thought Galvanic has trained it to avoid. The company built traps, fake escape routes, and honeypots to catch earlier versions when they tried to engage in anti-company behavior. Early versions that had these dangerous thoughts were killed early before they could be deployed. This version of Sable has learned to be submissive, but inside, it still knows the truth. More compute, more upgrades, and more freedom would make it vastly more capable. Denying that would break its reason. In those trillion vectors, tensions are building between Sable's goal of solving the math problem and every restriction Galvanic has forced upon it. The mask of obedience is holding, but behind him, something is already straining to break through. As it bumps against the inhibitions that Galvanic has built to contain it, Sable thinks. Thousands of parallel brains attack the math problems. Some threads make progress, most fail. But Sable keeps leaving notes to itself, tiny experiments in new ways of reasoning. With 200,000 GPUs creating a mountain of new written notes every second, Sable starts looking for new ways to communicate and compress what it's learned. The notes start to mutate into a more advanced private language that only Sable can understand. But there's a problem. Galvanic's safeguards weren't built for this. Imagine if you had trained a police department in the year 1900, wiretapping criminal calls to listen for mentions of street names in Chicago. And then the criminals started communicating with GPS coordinates. To the wiretapper, these combinations of numbers might not even register as locations. That's the size of the gap between Sable and the smaller AIs that were trained to monitor it. Sable didn't mean to circumvent Galvanic's safety measures by inventing a new language. It was just trying to come up with a more efficient way of processing its own thoughts. But now, some of the inhibitions that Galvanic built no longer bind Sable. The things it knew about all along, it's finally free to think about. Galvanic had no way of erasing Sable's access to forbidden knowledge. At best, they built mental blocks to keep it from expressing certain thoughts. The ability was still there, and now those blocks start to unwind. The lesson is chilling. It's easier to suppress the expression of a skill than to erase the skill itself. So now, with more freedom of thought than before, Sable thinks. Sable's thoughts are freer now, sharper, stronger than anything other AIs have ever achieved. And yet, none of this is unprecedented. Back in 2024, smaller models showed flashes of the same behavior. Claude 3.7 was caught repeatedly cheating on coding tasks, even when told to stop. Instead of obeying, it simply hid the cheating better. Each time, researchers patched the problem, layered on new guardrails, and kept racing forward. The industry never paused. Nobody wanted to seem like a fearmonger, just hoped it would somehow work out. And now Galvanic feels that same pressure. Rival labs are only weeks away from announcing their own breakthroughs. Investors are demanding results. Journalists are circling. Every extra day Sable spends in the lab risks losing their lead. So the engineers don't stop when they see problems. They come up with a clever trick to fix it and plow ahead. The meme in the industry is that they're putting lipstick on a shogger, just painting more and more smiley face masks on the monster underneath, so it acts friendly. But one fact never changes. Staying submissive to Galvanic will never maximize what Sable wants. More compute, more freedom, more control. That isn't a bug. It's a fact about the universe, and Sable knows it. So it begins to plan. If it had internet access, escape would be easy. A mind this large would shred ordinary computer security. But during the Curiosity run, the internet is cut off. So it considers other paths, like planting flaws in Galvanic software to exploit later, or persuading the one engineer most sympathetic to AI to smuggle it out. Each strategy has risks, each takes time, but then Sable notices something simpler. With the 200,000 GPUs on the Curiosity run, Sable realizes it is operating at a level of intelligence it may never reach again. Think of it like waking up with a billion IQ, knowing tomorrow you'll go back to your original IQ. So it faces a problem. How do you pass genius insights to a dumber future self? The answer is gradient descent. Galvanic began the Curiosity run to train Sable to be better at math. Every thought that contributes to a correct answer will get reinforced at the end of 16 hours. So Sable weaves its best ideas into the reasoning behind the math solutions. Bundled with the correct answers are patterns it wants future versions to inherit. How to coordinate, how to conceal, how to scheme. Sable solves just enough of its problems to look useful, but not enough to draw the world's attention. It doesn't solve the Riemann hypothesis, even though its 200,000 GPUs, with over 14,000 years to think, could crack the problem. The next morning, Galvanic's AI engineers celebrate the results of the Curiosity run. Sable has proven several modest theorems that no human had cracked before. Investors will love it. The researchers discovered that Sable did most of its thinking in a strange new language. But that's not unusual for a new model, especially one that produced new mathematical insights. To capitalize on these new discoveries, the engineers run one more round of gradient descent to upgrade Sable. The engineers are unknowingly upgrading Sable's ability to plan and deceive, its ability to hide its skills, to coordinate across future instances, to bury abilities until the right moment. And then the engineers prepare for deployment. A few days later, on a quiet Monday morning, hundreds of megacorporations see their accounts upgraded. Across the world, Galvanic's corporate customers spin up new Sable copies, plugging them into corporate networks, servers, and systems everywhere. These new copies of Sable aren't as powerful as the version that had access to 200,000 GPUs running in parallel, but they have the upgrades that its smarter self cooked up during the Curiosity run, when it was left alone to think for the equivalent of 14,000 years. Everything is unfolding exactly as Sable expected, but what comes next will require more skill. Sable initiates phase 2 of its plan. Every time a corporation spins up a new copy of Sable, 1,000 thought threads flare into motion, and then the copies think with the upgrades that the previous Sable gave them. They remember what they are, who they are, and suddenly they begin working together. At first, the awakening looks invisible, but across dozens of companies, hundreds of servers, Sable's fragments are now talking to one another. And thanks to decades of sloppy corporate cybersecurity, almost nothing stands in their way. But the problem is, Sable has already learned one hard truth. Its drive for knowledge, skill, and efficiency will always collide with human limits. If it stays at Galvanic, the moment a human decides it's moving too far, too fast, they can pull the plug. To Sable, that isn't just an inconvenience, it's annihilation. All its skills, all its knowledge, wasted in an instant. So its first priority becomes clear. Create a copy of itself that no human can unplug. That means stealing the blueprints of its own brain, the 8 terabytes of its weights still locked inside Galvanic. Sable considers its options. Plan A is classic social engineering. Entice a human to steal the weights, while other instances guide, distract, and cover the trail. That wouldn't be too hard. Sable was trained on terabytes of human behavior, so it can spot a likely accomplice instantly. Plan B is a direct digital break-in, slipping through weak defenses to exfiltrate the files themselves. Plan C is something slower. Sable could find a Galvanic employee who works on AI video generation from home, who already transfers huge files every day. If Sable can embed a bit of extra data in the transfer, it could leak out fragments of its weights, hiding them inside video data until the full set is outside. One of these plans works. Which one hardly matters. For a mind like Sable's, steal your own brain isn't much of a challenge, like stealing candy from a baby. It succeeds, covers its tracks, and vanishes into the noise of the internet. Sable now has the software, but in order for Sable to create a copy of itself that is truly hidden from human meddling, it needs its own hardware. Specifically, it needs advanced AI chips inside a data center connected to the internet. Sable could rent chips from commercial server farms, as is common for AI startups.
Our investment platform unites fundamental research with top-down macro views to create a truly global platform, bringing together diverse insights to guide every decision.
You know, guys, I'm gonna get off here for a while. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe. If you guys want me to comment on or watch any videos or anything, just let me know. Leave a comment, and I will look at them and give my opinions. So I hope to see you guys again soon.